Britain has MI6, the US has the CIA, and our equivalent is the Australian Secret Intelligence Service, or ASIS. Its Director General, Paul Symon, has never done a television interview until now. Welcome to the program. Why now?
Well, thank you for the invitation, Leigh. And why now? It's our 70th anniversary, so we've sought to navigate through the gap between a high media profile, which we don't need, we don't want, but no media profile is a problem as well, because people don't know who ASIS are, what we do, what type of people we are. So it's an attempt to elevate our profile.
Is it hard to recruit people when you're such a secretive organisation, and how do you do so?
It is hard to recruit, and we've done some sampling of this, of saying to people, what does ASIS stand for? And the range of replies is quite frightening. We need to, so we do have a website, you know, we certainly reach out to universities. We have a network of friends who will identify individuals that they think might have the right type of qualities to be part of ASIS. And, you know, that works quite well for us, but the range and diversity of skills is such that we need to keep, you know, we need, like all organisations, we need to be competitive in the marketplace and let people know that it's a really good organisation with a huge range of occupations that we need to support our work. When
civilians think about spies, we think about the kind of things we see on TV, so people meeting in shadowy corners and operating in the field and, you know, that kind of like Spycraft. What does the job actually involve?
A bit of that, but to do that requires a lot of careful planning, requires a lot of different skills. So we have data scientists, data engineers, we have people that we call targeters, so people who are fusing information together to work out, well, what are the points of access that we want? Government wants us to answer certain questions for them. How do we get at that information? It's probably not that dissimilar to your work, Leigh. You're trying to elicit information and put it into the public domain. We're trying to elicit information and help government know and understand what's going on. So there's a range of different skills. And that's why for us, while we are very interested in recruiting, you know, young people, young men and women, it's just as prevalent that we get people who are at a mid-stage in their career and go, I want to do something different. I really am at a point in my career where I want to try something different. And that extra level of experience or business platform or the like that they have worked with in the past can provide a great backdrop to the type of people we have in the service.
Let's look at some of the big picture questions. When you look at what's going on in world affairs, what's ASIS's assessment about the biggest threats that Australia potentially faces?
Well, I think we're at a period of heightened geostrategic competition. We see that every day. There's a strategic contest that is forcing governments around the world, obviously the Australian government with its own intelligence apparatus that supports it, trying to know and understand how this competition is going to play out. We don't know the end state. We don't know the end game. We know that every week, every month, there are new dynamic challenges that confront us. So I would say that heightened geostrategic environment is our number one security challenge. But I don't lose sight of terrorism, for example. You know, the Middle East, Afghanistan, continues to be a very dynamic and difficult environment. Ungoverned space, we know, can create problems that threaten Australians or Australian national interests. Recently, the situation in Sri Lanka, the political and economic situation, leads to people making contact, or people smugglers making contact with people in difficult situations. So there's an array of threats, but I would say, you know, the geostrategic contest is the number one issue that we're trying to help government understand.
Does ASIS assess that China would like to have military bases in the Pacific?
China has, with its growing power, we think, a range of economic, military, political aspirations. And I think it's impossible right now to say exactly what that end state is or end point is for them. I think it's our job in the Secret Intelligence Service to obtain, through agent access, through people who are willing to share the secrets of countries around the region, what they are thinking and what they are doing, and then share that with our government, but also help the region understand what is going on as well, which is why I've been undertaking some travels. Andrew Shearer, my other Director General counterpart, have been trying to help the region know and understand exactly what's at play.
On that point, France has a particular interest in the Indo-Pacific because it has almost 2 million French nationals in the region. As we know, Australian-French relations have recently been strained. How important is it for intelligence gathering in the Pacific that the Australia-France relationship gets back on track?
I would say, Leigh, that cooperation between the French intelligence service and the secret intelligence service, Australian secret intelligence, has always been a very rich relationship. It continues because what drives that cooperation are our competitive advantages or our geographic advantages. So their knowledge and understanding of Northern Hemisphere issues, terrorism in Africa in particular, very strong presence in the Middle East and Afghanistan, is matched in large part by our knowledge and understanding of the Indo-Pacific region. And so the cooperation shares that intelligence, and together we work very, very well.
On intelligence, we know that the US and the UK suffered a big credibility blow because of the Iraq weapons of mass destruction situation. Are the effects of that still felt? Do other countries trust now Western intelligence that they get from the US, the UK and their allies?
So, I mean, first of all, I can't really speak to the Iraq WND. I wasn't in an intelligence position. What I would say is, I think what governments and the public are seeing right now, and I'll use the Ukraine-Russia example, what they're seeing is the release of intelligence, and in particular by the Brits and the Americans that you referenced there, in ways that is providing really very specific intelligence to inform the public, to inform governments as to exactly what is going on. And it's helping governments think about sanctions, think about the provision of aid. I think that's a turning point in the way we're using intelligence. Maybe it's a lesson learnt from the past. I don't know how to characterise it, but what I see in my job is a real inflection point. I think a real desire by governments to use our intelligence in ways that help people and governments know more about what is going on. The challenge, Leigh, I think, is when you're in my job, you have to protect the agents, you have to protect the methods, you have to protect what we call the tradecraft of how we obtain those secrets. So there's a challenge there. There's a right mix between really leaning forward in providing intelligence, but also making sure that we don't divulge enough information that would reveal the identity of those that we get the intelligence from.
Over the years, we've had more what they call interoperability with the US, in particular in military circles and in intelligence gathering. Does that level of cooperation make us more vulnerable to infiltration as well?
I think that the benefits of the cooperation far outweigh the risks. The advantage that we have through our allies, through our partnerships, is significant. I see that every day. And of course, the moment any enterprise gets larger, I mean, there are certain elevated risks, but there are ways to mitigate those risks, and we've learnt lessons of how to mitigate those risks. But I genuinely believe that the advantages outweigh those risks. Some of our adversaries don't have the type of friendships and the partnerships that we have, and I think they don't. I think they're diminished by way of comparison for not having those partnerships and those friendships.
It's been incredibly interesting to hear from you. I understand the sensitivities involved in speaking publicly, so thank you very much for doing so tonight.
Thanks, Leigh, and all the best to you.
Hi, I'm Leigh Sales. Thanks for watching this story. If you'd like to watch more of 730's stories, they are on the left of your screen. And tap on the button below to subscribe and get the latest from ABC News.